Hey everybody, it's Bruce here from WaterBear, talking about a very important subject today, which is how to make the leap from having a day job to a full-time career in music as a self-employed creative. It's not something we're going to deal with lightly or in any kind of glib way. This is people's futures, it's very important. And the viability of this kind of depends on where you are on your journey, where you are now, your attitude to risk and being self-employed, and of course your skill set and experience. But happily, the people I've been dealing with on the WaterBear Masters have put a lot of the groundwork in already. So this is a very exciting conversation rather than something that's scary. In fact, the more I'm seeing of corporate life at the moment, the more I see more and more risk built into jobs that used to be seen as secure. Redundancy seems super common. There's more and more stories I'm hearing of sort of restructuring and people being asked to do more than one job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs for the same money. So everyone's feeling the squeeze. For many of us, the answer to happiness and freedom lies in a DIY, self-employed approach to a creative career. So what goes into making that leap? So how do we go from an idea, a dream, I want to make a full-time living out of music, but can I afford to give up that day job? How do you go from that to the reality of actually doing just that? Well, the first stage is a bit of careful planning and research, and we're going to use that pie chart concept. I must write out a pie chart to work out a career plan for somebody. I must do that 3 times a day. So you'll see me do it all the time. Pie chart. We're going to have a combination of income streams. Where can we earn money? Some of them are going to be stuff that we're going to develop over a few months, maybe even a year or more. Other stuff needs to be a quick win because you've got to keep the money coming in to pay the bills. So I'm conscious of that. So this is going to be a transition rather than a leap into the abyss. So right, let's do some brainstorming, and we've got our friends George Donoghue and Andy Guitar here to try and come up with all the possible income streams that we could utilise as a professional musician to get rid of that day job and live life on our own terms as a self-employed musician. So where do we start?
I would start with what you've just said there, different income streams. Right. And I would say one of the only ways I've been able to, when I first started with what I'm doing now, was to cobble together a living, was by having different income streams.
And what did you do? Tell your story.
One of the, after leaving university and things and then having to get a day job, I just literally, I was at Morrison's for a while, to be able to leave that and do my own thing. I had a cover band. I started teaching part-time, I started doing techs for lighting and sound engineer for a venue. Yeah. And then any other freelance work that would come my way.
Did you do teaching as well?
Yeah, one-to-one teaching, 100%.
Right.
And that was just another one of those things. I used to see them like a load of different horses that I was going to be betting on, seeing which one of them took off, and then sort of put your time and effort into the one that took off.
How was it for you, George? What was it similar?
Exactly the same thing. It was like I kind of looked around at the skills I had, like you said, to kind of put them into the horses, and then I did have my studio, I had some function band stuff, I had busking, I teched, and then I did a load of management stuff.
Tour managed as well.
And then like live crew kind of stuff, and then literally pushing boxes, crew, like local crew, and that.
Doing what you need to do.
That local crew probably kept that was my day job. That kept me alive.
Local crewing can get you into venues, which could end up getting you on a tour.
That's what it gave me, the CV that then got me a lot of tours. Just from doing local crew, I managed to work a bunch of times up at the O2.
And we both come from this side of the music industry, I think, where we're musicians, but also are quite happy in the engineering technical side. And I've always seen that as, if I'm not playing, I'm quite happy to be getting involved in the tech side.
I just want to be surrounded by music as much as I can. So
exactly.
I'd rather, no matter what it is within music, whether it's literally just driving a van for someone, for me, that's more interesting, and the community you're with than was working a day job.
This is really interesting because we've been talking about if you're going to make the leap into the void, it's better for it to be actually a little bit strategic and a bit planned, and you need a few quick wins. So if you're going to do something like driving, or working behind a bar, it might as well be in a music bar, and it might as well be a music-related driving gig.
100%, but some of those go together very well and some don't. If you want to be working in a bar, you might have to work every Friday and Saturday night, and that's not going to go well with any cover band, function band, any kind of work like that, or sound engineering. Yeah. If you want to teach, which is generally evenings or Monday to Friday, that leaves plenty of time for being in a cover band working in a bar, eventually getting on a tour.
With the teaching stuff, you can still plan your schedule.
100%.
Whereas obviously if you're working in a bar, you have someone who does your rota for you.
It's just some go together better than others, and I think planning to at some point in the future go on tour for 3 months doesn't always work well with some of these things because you have to leave them. Whereas some you could continue while you...
Or they'll be there when you get back.
Exactly. And also you mentioned busking for you was something
I'm going to ask about that. This is
100% falling back on.
It sounds very funny.
Yeah, busking was...
and scary.
Busking I kind of fell into from... I was 16, I worked at McDonald's. And I don't know how, one day I was just like, I'm going to go busking. And I did, and it was terrible, and I kept just doing it. I think I did it at Christmas, that was it. I stood outside at Christmas and it was snowing, and everyone was like, oh, look at him, that poor boy, he gave me money. And I came home and I was like, to mum was like, people just gave me money. And I just stood there.
In my experience, it entirely depends on where you are busking, as to exactly how much you'll get and what you have to play and things like that. And if you're in Leeds High Street and you play Wonderwall at about 8 p.m. on a Saturday night, someone might pay you 40 quid for it. It's ridiculous.
There's been those scenarios.
You can't guarantee that, but if you're a musician that just wants to play and doesn't know how to do anything else, busking is an amazing way to actually pay your way and be honing your craft.
What's a good day busking?
The best week I had was $1,000 and a bit.
That's alright.
There you go.
That's for a week's work is
better than
that's a lot of one-to-one lessons, you know what I mean? Or that's a good payday with a few gigs.
I did work for it. Like that was like, you know, I was out. I lost my voice after it, but I knew that was like going to be. It was a busy week. There's a lot of events going on, and I was like, I strategically planned it, like as you do a tour. On an average night, you could do anything between 20 to 80 quid.
And I suppose you can combine that with covers bands, wedding bands, corporate gigs, cruise ships. One thing about this as well is we have to update the model a little bit, and whereas in the old days you maybe would have paid to do a pub bands with a band, usually it's duos and
the duo function stuff, we tailored ours to be a duo because we were doing it as a band. And there was always the same budget. Most pubs tend to have this 200 to 250 quid budget every Friday, Saturday night. We could get 200 for the two of us, or 250 for four of us. It made no difference. So we just always did the two.
Tell us about running a studio commercially, because I know you moved from running a studio in a premises to what in your house.
That was not completely my choice. It was the building we were in got bought, so we had to move out.
A happy accident.
Yeah, definitely a happy accident. For me, it was I'm not paying rent again. I was having to pay $1,000 before I passed go every month.
So now you run the studio from your house.
Yeah.
And what sort of work are you doing from essentially a very highly spec professional studio at home?
Well, I kind of acknowledge that you're only ever using this massive live room for 1 or 2 days out of the 10-day session. I can build a booth at home. So I built a vocal booth, and then I go and track my drums at a big studio or wherever the budget permits for whatever the project. But now I'm more focused about the project and the client than I am about my studio, my gear, and this is what I have, look at me, because clients don't care about that.
So tell us about what's the last record that you put out and how did it do?
The first single came out last week. That was with a band called River Becomes Ocean, and the last single got on Radio 1 last week. We got the Radio 1 rock show, and that was an album that we did. We did the drums at Brighton Electric, and we did all the guitars in, effectively, like you said, it is a spec studio, and I've designed it to be like that, but it is my garage.
Yeah. And that's really cool, very satisfying. Sandy, do you have a studio as well?
100%, and it's a similar story to George's, where I film all my videos from home. I mean, we're in a room that's about the same size as my studio here, but there's not a problem with that being in my house. That keeps the cost down, so it means that you can reinvest in your business, or if you're just getting started out, it doesn't cost you anything to do, and it means you're more likely to shoot more content or create more, and that will lead to getting started better.
I've noticed a lot of the people who are really good with YouTube tend to do their own editing.
100%. I think that gives you more creative control. For myself, if I'm wanting to add my own style to it, I have to edit my own content, because then you suddenly see it through the viewer's eyes rather than just the creator's eyes. What do you want from this? Should it be quicker? Should we zoom in more? I'm a teacher, do we need the chord symbols on the screen and things like that? There's only me can really make those decisions, because it is my channel and I know what I want, really.
Very interesting. I've got a question for you both. What's the worst thing you've had to do in order to support your music career?
I've been on tours that weren't fun, but I don't regret them. Not that they weren't fun, but they were hard. But I don't know what I'd say the worst thing was.
My honest answer and the thing that comes to mind is staying part-time in a job I didn't want to do and was nothing to do with music for as long as I possibly could, while also building up teaching, trying to find a cover band and getting that started and getting real gigs with that, real paying gigs, and getting tech work, getting venue work, while keeping this job that I didn't want, because just not doing that job that I didn't want to do was paying the rent, putting food on the table, and meant that it wasn't any risk following all these others, which were more creative endeavours.
Right. Okay.
For me personally, because I just feel it's such a big risk for anyone who's got a full-time paying job to leave it, and then we expect them to start their own business, essentially.
Yes. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
That is just jumping into the ocean and is scary as hell, and means that a lot of people won't do it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a real power in going part-time and building some of the things that we're talking about here up, essentially on the side, but therefore you can really
manage the risk.
You can manage the risk and make them more creative. You don't have to feel like
you can engineer it a bit more, I think.
Exactly. You're more in control because you've already got, say, the rent taken care of.
Yeah.
And this could be 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, certain days of the week, and then all the rest of the time is whatever what is called these days the side hustle.
I think it's what we come down to with all the stuff we talk about with bands time and time again is the plan. It's you're having, by doing what you're saying, you're having a plan and you're engineering the crossover period.
Exactly.
Whereas so many people just don't do that because it's the equivalent of a band just putting out a record and that's it.
And there's expectation on it there.
Yeah.
Whereas any sort of online following, any sort of original band, it's expected that will grow over years. It's not expected it will grow over weeks.
Yeah.
And if you've left a full-time job to do this, the money will run out if it's not coming in. That's just the reality of it. And that I really see a power in going part-time.
Yeah.
Fantastic advice. That amazing advice. That whole concept. But let's not forget why we're doing this. We are interested also in putting out original creative work, and that will and can make money. But we have to really do this in a modern way. What's tough to make work these days is a traditional band, split a bus, touring, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because we know why. The costs increase faster than the income, so you get penalised for success. So refer to earlier videos about this. It's about coming up with a model that's lean, cutting your costs, as the point that you always make, making sure your songs are as good as possible, and learning how to make content like these guys do, particularly Andy, making content that doesn't cost you a fortune to make but is actually brilliant. Also stay tuned for the Rob Chapman Masterclass on making a professional video for your band with just an iPhone and no budget. Okay, so some amazing words of wisdom there from the guys. So let's try and summarise this into 5 top tips to make that transition from day job to full-time musician. Tip number 1, ask yourself a fundamental searching question. Is self-employment for you, or do you prefer a regular paycheck at the end of the month? If that's the case, might be time to stop now and think again. Tip number 2, brainstorm a range of income streams and make sure there's some quick wins in there that you can switch on immediately. Tip number 3, this is a big jump. How about going part-time initially, dropping 1 day a week from the day job, 2 days, 3 days, and gradually making that transition instead of leaping into an abyss of risk. Tip number 4, think of all your various income streams as horses that you are betting on in a race. It's like spread betting, you've spread the risk. When one of them starts to go really well, you can put more effort into that, wind it up, make that a bigger part of your income stream, your pie chart, and if you're flogging a dead horse, let it go. Tip number 5, it's okay to be ambitious. Some people have got to change the world with music, and it might as well be you. So if you're finding the videos useful, like and subscribe. We'll keep you on the loop, let you know what's going on. And if music's becoming a very important part of your life, don't forget you can do this kind of work full-time with us at WaterBear and get a degree or even a master's at the same time. Here's the address if you want to find out more.